Adding and subtracting rational expressions. Example 6. 4 over x minus 3 subtract 2 over x squared minus 9. As we begin our subtracting, notice that these fractions do not have a common denominator, so our first step will be to factor both of these. The first one, x minus 3, is in factored form. It does not have a common factor, and x minus 3 does not factor further. The second denominator is x squared minus 9. It does not have a common denominator, but this will factor further as the difference of two squares. As you do this chapter, remember to go back and review your factoring if that is the place where you're having difficulty. As we factor this, to get the first term of x squared, the first of both parentheses will need to be x and x. To get the 9, we'll need a 3 and a 3. And to get a 0 for our middle term, because there is no x term there, we'll need a plus and a minus. The x squared minus 9 factors into x minus 3, x plus 3. Then our common denominator, we will have to have the x minus 3 as a factor in our denominator. And as we look at the second factor, we will need both an x minus 3 and an x plus 3. But because we already have the x minus 3, we will not need to list it a second time. We will, however, have to have an x plus 3. As we look and compare and make our comparison, when we match, we'll see that the x minus 3 and the x minus 3 match up. Those are our matching factors. So this first part of the fraction, this first fraction here, matches up this part, but it is missing and doesn't have a match for the x plus 3. That part is missing, and because it's missing, we'll need to multiply by x plus 3 by the missing part. What we multiply on the bottom, we'll multiply on the top. For emphasis, I always write this extra step out. Your teacher may go on and do that multiplication here, or she may write that out as well. Whatever your teacher does, just keep following that, especially with the limitation of doing this on a computer. I want to be sure to write down as many steps as we can. Now, as we did that, notice that we're now ready to move on to our second fraction. And as we do that, we'll notice that the x plus 3's match up, and even though it's red here and blue here, the x minus 3's match up. In other words, both parts match up, and there is not a missing part. So this fraction is not missing. It has the common denominator. So we'll just need to bring over the minus 2 without any missing parts. The next step will be to use our distributive property and multiply 4 times x and 4 times 3, and then bring over our subtract 2, add our like terms, which would be 4x plus 10. And there is a common factor to factor out. The common factor that divides into both 4 and 2 would be 2. 2 divided into 4x leaves me 2x, and 2 divided into 10 leaves me 5. However, that will not help simplify my problem, so I will bring this down as the top of my fraction, 4x plus 10 over x minus 3, x plus 3. As I do this, I will leave the denominator in its factored form. It just makes it easier. And then again, the answer for this example is 4x plus 10 over x minus 3, x plus 3.